At a museum, the Ukrainian Prime Minister's children are enjoying the art while a big team of bodyguards keeps an eye on them. When they're ready to leave, they head outside, only to watch their car be hit by a vehicle that appears out of nowhere. After a bodyguard is crushed between two cars, a group of masked men comes out of the new vehicle and opens fire, quickly killing the rest of the bodyguards and even a few civilians. Then they push the minister's children into their car and take off. Soon the criminals are being chased by the Secret Service and the police, causing chaos on the streets. Civilian vehicles get hit and pushed out of the way, leading to many accidents. One of the kidnappers opens fire, which makes the Secret Service cars overturn. An officer fires back at them and hits the kidnapper on the arm, yet he doesn't look bothered. He shoots the cop in return and causes that car to crash too. The siblings scream as the car keeps advancing at crazy speed, moving around corners with dangerous turns. Eventually they find a police roadblock and crash right into it, but this doesn't stop them. As the cops open fire, the criminals drive in reverse until the driver is killed by a shot to the head. One of his partners comes out and quickly shoots all the officers, then he throws the body out and takes over the wheel. Eventually the group reaches the extraction point and the police surround them again. A new firefight ensues and a second criminal is brought down, but the leader survives long enough to get the minister's children in a helicopter. When the wounded man tries to join them, the leader kicks him off before the chopper flies away. At the same time, the Pasilan Liberation Front invades the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, quickly killing all the employees to gain control. They also take over the abandoned city surrounding the complex and rig the nuclear reactor with explosives connected to a detonator set to 72 hours. General Topov records a message for the Prime Minister, threatening to blow up the plant if the 227 political prisoners aren't released and calling for the complete and total independence of Pasilan. If his demands are ignored, the children will be killed. Meanwhile, Dr. Colin finishes setting up his lab. When the chopper finally arrives, Colin examines the kidnapper, asking many questions to check on his mental state. It's revealed he was hit by several bullets, yet he isn't in any pain. It turns out he's an experimental next-generation universal soldier or NGU, a type of lab-made super soldier. Colin takes a new arm out of the fridge and chops off the wounded one to replace it. Later, Colonel Kobe meets with the Ukrainian leader to discuss the situation. They've watched the security footage and noticed how a kidnapper survived deadly shots, which reminds Kobe of a super soldier project that the USA shut down 5 years ago. If the enemy has universal soldiers, they'll need something equally powerful to fight them. In Virginia, Dr. Porter opens an old military storage where the last 4 universal soldiers have been kept in cryofreeze. Because of the emergency in Ukraine, he orders his men to wake the sleeping soldiers up. In the evening, the troops gather in the Joint Forces Command Center in Chernobyl. Porter tells them about the Universal Soldier Program, which managed to bring soldiers back to life using nitrogen-based gas and pituitary augmentation. They improved them to make them faster, stronger, programmable, and erasable. These soldiers could be tortured yet they wouldn't feel a thing. 5 years ago, Porter passed the project to Colin, who took the super soldiers to the next level using gene therapy and cloning research. These NGUs were unstoppable killing machines, and one day they murdered 12 employees in a government building. The project was shut down, but one day someone broke in and stole one of the units. They believe it was Colin, who left the army to work as a gun for hire in Eastern Europe. The troops are told that they'll be fighting Colin's NGU with the help of the 4 universal soldiers that are currently being awakened. Originally there were 5, but the 5th one is now going through behavioral modification therapy in Switzerland. A privately funded program is trying to reintroduce him to society. In Switzerland, Universal Soldier Luke takes his medicine before his therapy appointment with Dr. Sandra. He can't remember anything from his past, yet he feels ashamed for what he's done. Afterward they go to a restaurant, where Luke sees a man ask the waitress something and she answers by pointing at him. When the man approaches, Luke immediately starts beating him up, destroying many tables in the process. Sandra asks him to stop to no avail, so she has to block him physically to calm him down. Together they leave the restaurant before the police arrive. At the nuclear plant, Topov forces Colin to inject him and all his men with microchips that will prevent NGU from attacking people in his own team. At the same time, the US Army prepares the Universal Soldiers for battle. They're given proper gear and special headsets are screwed to their skulls. Once everyone is ready, they're given a mission to rescue the minister's children and secure the reactor. If they encounter NGU, normal men must do their best to avoid him and let the Universal Soldiers handle him. Early in the morning, the American troops arrive at the plant. They try to sneak around, but a soldier steps on a hidden mine and the explosion alerts the enemy to their presence. Although they've lost the element of surprise, the troops still move quickly and efficiently to block all the doors, killing all the enemies as soon as they come out. Once the area is clear, they advance into the plant to surround the reactor. However, Kobe orders them to stay outside and only let the Universal Soldiers sneak in. The 4 men split and start searching the building, which makes things easy for NGU to attack. He jumps on one of the soldiers and throws him off the platform, then he punches him a few times and stabs him with his blade. Then he goes after the second soldier, who opens fire and tries to defend himself to no avail. NGU easily beats him up and stabs him too. The third soldier comes in and opens fire, so NGU rushes upstairs. When the soldier is close enough, NGU jumps on him and impales him on a hook. The fourth soldier keeps looking around and opens fire as soon as he sees NGU, who moves too fast to be hit. Since he's wasted all his ammo, the soldier now has to fight hand to hand. Unlike his partners, he manages to land a few punches, but NGU is still much faster and stronger. The soldier is soon easily overpowered and choked to death. Kobe tries to tell the normal soldiers to retreat, but the message doesn't arrive. NGU attacks them alone since their bullets can't hurt him. He calmly keeps walking as he shoots them all, killing them in seconds. When he encounters a survivor, he quickly beats him up. Burke manages to run away and discovers that the general is down, so he tries to call headquarters for rescue. However, the general tells him to escape with another fallen soldier who is also alive. Once NGU is close enough, the general throws a grenade and the explosion makes him fall. However, NGU recovers quickly and keeps advancing. Burke and the other survivor get on their truck and drive off, so NGU gets ready to blow up the vehicle, but two teammates get in the way and the chip forces him to walk away. At the command center, Burke yells at Kobe and Porter for not letting the team fight with the Universal soldiers, believing they could have brought down NGU together. Porter explains it wouldn't have worked either and Burke gets angry, so Kobe has to stop him from attacking Porter. Suddenly they see a huge explosion in the distance. Kobe rushes to the office and watches a video sent by Topov, who announces he's detonated one of the explosives as punishment for the American Army's attack. Afterward, Topov tells the minister's kids that their father has the power to change things. However, the daughter says she'd rather meet her end than see her father give in. Colin mocks Topov for failing to communicate with children and tells them that he has the real power in this operation, thanks to his super soldier. Topov mocks him back and reminds him to follow orders. In the middle of the night, Luke has fallen asleep in front of the TV. Suddenly someone breaks a window and throws a gas grenade into his house before a group of men bursts in. Luke immediately starts fighting them and manages to bring a few guys down, but the rest of the team tackles him and holds him down until the gas puts him to sleep. Moments later, Luke wakes up strapped to a chair in the command center. Porter tells him that Sandra has authorized this and assures him he's among friends. After asking Luke a few questions to confirm he's mentally well, Porter injects him with a special serum. Then Luke is put on a treadmill to run some tests and Sandra is worried that this may backfire since Luke has been through hormonal therapy. When it's time to pump it up with more chemicals, Sandra stays by his side because she's the only one he trusts. After that is done, Luke receives one more injection and is given a gun to test his reflexes. He shoots the practice target with perfect precision, proving that his soldier instincts are back. Meanwhile, Kobe and Burke look at aerial pictures of the plant and Burke points at some pipes that can be used to get inside. Kobe authorizes him to go on a recon mission but tells him not to engage with NGU. After gearing up, Burke carefully sneaks around the plant. There are a few guards in the area, but Burke approaches them from behind and quickly brings them all down without making a single noise. One guy manages to see him anyway, so Burke has to fight him. Thankfully, he can kill him without issues. Now he can reach the pipes and start crawling into the building. When he reaches the reactor, he installs a camera so the command center can study the explosives. Burke wants to deactivate them, but Kobe doesn't want to risk an encounter with NGU and tells him to only rescue the kids. NGU is now patrolling the area, so Burke waits until he's gone to move again. He continues to sneak around and always stays hidden until people are out of the way to keep moving. When his microphone picks up a female voice, the technician at the command center uses it to help him navigate the area. In the meantime, the minister says he refuses to negotiate with terrorists. His wife is furious and yells at him for putting their kids at risk, saying she'll never forgive him if something happens to them. The minister then makes an announcement on national television explaining that he's decided to release 100 prisoners in exchange for the detonator being shut down, and in the following hours he'll negotiate the exchange of the remaining prisoners for his children. At the plant, Topov and his men celebrate their first victory and turn off the detonator. Sandra also sees the negotiations as a success and cancels Luke's treatment. In the lab, Colin is tired of not having control over the plan. Since his NGU can't hurt Topov or his men, he decides to awaken his secret weapon, a clone of Andrew, one of the original Universal soldiers who was killed for being a psychopath. Afterward, Colin has a meeting with Topov, who doesn't want to fight anymore now that his people have been released. Colin isn't happy about this because he wants to build an army, so Topov points a gun at him and says their business is over. At that moment Andrew appears, so Topov calls a guard, but Andrew easily brings him down with a single punch. Topov opens fire but his bullets do nothing, so Andrew proceeds to beat him up. In just a few seconds, Topov is dead on the floor. Colin congratulates him on a job well done, but Andrew ignores him. Panicking, Colin tries to give orders, yet Andrew doesn't listen. Instead, Andrew repeats the mental check questions before grabbing Colin by the neck. His strong hands crush the doctor's head until he's dead too. When Colin's assistant comes looking for him, he sees the body and runs away. Then Andrew uses a knife to remove the chip from his head. At the same time, the siblings are using the distraction of the celebration to try to escape. Burke bumps into them and immediately guides them out of the building. At that moment, Andrew reactivates the detonator, and the US Army immediately sees it, thanks to Burke's camera. Kobe orders Sandra to finish treating Luke as quickly as possible, so she can't take as many precautions as they originally planned. When she gives him the last injection, Luke recovers his memories and tells her to go because it may not be safe for her, but she wants to stay with him for support. Luke's body shakes for a few seconds before it's fully back to normal. He grabs Sandra and hugs her extremely tightly, hurting her a little before dropping her. Thinking Luke has lost control, a doctor rushes to stop him, but Luke simply knocks him down. Kobe and Porter also come, yet Luke only grabs a weapon and leaves for his mission. As soon as Luke reaches the plant, he runs through an open field and opens fire, shooting every man in sight without worrying about getting hurt in return. An enemy manages to run over him with a jeep, however Luke instantly recovers and quickly shoots both drivers down too, causing the jeep to crash. The noise gets the attention of more men, but Luke continues to kill them all as he enters the nearest building, shooting anyone who gets in the way. When he runs out of ammo, he uses a knife to fight them hand to hand, killing them all with the same efficiency. One guy is so scared that he chooses to escape through the window rather than fighting him. Meanwhile NGU finds Topov's and Colin's bodies, so he goes looking for the culprit. He ends up bumping into Burke, who makes the kids run while he opens fire. NGU easily stops him by punching him, and a new fight begins. Burke is an impressive warrior and actually manages to keep fighting through NGU's beastly attacks. However, he still isn't a super soldier, so NGU eventually overpowers him and holds him against the wall to stab him to death. When Luke reaches the main building, he sees the bodies in the open container in the lab, so he starts suspecting what happened. Then he follows a blood trail until he finds Colin's assistant also dead. In the neighboring room, he discovers that Andrew has cornered the kids. Andrew thinks Luke looks familiar from the old days, but his memories aren't clear enough to remember the details. When he moves to attack the siblings, Luke kicks him and the kids use the chance to run away. The super soldiers then start fighting, throwing each other all over the room as they destroy the furniture and even a wall. Both of them attack with their mighty strength, causing them to fall down the stairs. This doesn't interrupt the battle. They keep breaking furniture, another wall, and eventually they fall through the window. When Andrew tries to jump on Luke to finish him, Luke grabs a metal tube and stabs Andrew in the head. Since Andrew is still alive, Luke steals a gun from a body and inserts it in the tube to blow up Andrew's head. Afterward Luke is too weak to continue, so he injects himself with emergency serum, which gives him another 20 minutes to act. He finds the kids hiding inside and tries to rescue them, only to be attacked by NGU. After quickly bringing Luke down, NGU starts chasing the siblings, however Luke manages to catch up to him and attacks him, only for Luke to easily bring him down again. When NGU enters the next room he sees the kids and gets ready to kill them, but Luke stops him once more. NGU finally accepts that Luke won't surrender and agrees to fight him properly. At first it appears that NGU has the upper hand and he smugly stabs Luke with his blade, unaware that he's also a super soldier. Of course Luke keeps on fighting and NGU slashes his neck. This is still not enough to stop him. Luke grabs a metal rod and impales it in NGU's neck to defeat him. Then Luke runs away with the kids, so they don't see NGU removing the rod to recover. When the group tries to reach the reactor, NGU attacks again. There are only a few minutes left on the detonator, so Luke only fights him enough to distract him before running to the reactor. NGU follows him and a new battle begins right next to the explosives. In the struggle, Luke manages to grab the detonator and insert it in NGU's clothes before pushing him. Both men fall off the balcony and roll on the ground until they're falling out of the building too. Outside, Luke is too weak to move and collapses. NGU removes the detonator from his clothes, but it's too late. It blows up in his hands and finally kills him. Thankfully the explosion doesn't reach Luke, who looks at the kids one last time before running away. Soon the army arrives and rescues the siblings. They also pick up the bodies for research. Later in Virginia, Porter has fixed NGU and cloned him several times to have his own super army. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.